specifically to discuss the opportunities that are being provided with IBM Websphere and IBM Global Entrepreneur Program. And I'm very excited to be presenting this opportunity with some partners of ours at IBM. Rick Smith, who's the corporate entrepreneur of the IBM Venture Capital Group and Ecosystem Development, who will be talking about the Global Entrepreneur Program, and Tom McManus from IBM Websphere, who's our technical liaison and is a really excellent resource for you and for us, for SaaSMAX, as we move forward in our partnership. So as a brief overview, this is what we're going to cover today. We're going to start out with Rick talking about the Global Entrepreneur Program, because this is very exciting. It's really innovative. For those of you who are SaaS entrepreneurs who are looking to enter the enterprise space, this is a unique, new, brand new opportunity, and Rick is spearheading it, and we're very excited to have him here and talking about it. Then we'll talk about briefly SaaSMAX and our relationship with IBM and how this is of benefit to you as a SaaS entrepreneur. And then we'll talk about briefly the SaaS Starter Pack components of IBM Websphere SaaS Starter Pack, so that you can understand what these initial pieces of the of infrastructure are and whether or not they make sense for your company, and therefore how it will integrate and be able to help you get into the IBM ecosystem. And then we'll talk a little bit more about how you work with SaaSMAX to move forward and the extra benefits. So without further ado, let me introduce Rick Smith, who's the corporate entrepreneur at the IBM Venture Capital Group and Ecosystem Development. Rick, are you there?
Yes, I am. Thank you, Dina, very much. I want to thank everybody for joining today, and I also want to, first of all, congratulate SaaSMAX on all the good work they're doing with IBM and working with startups such as yourself on the call. The Global Entrepreneurial Program is relatively new at IBM, and it was IBM's focus on the startups to help them get started on this journey of creating their companies. And I'm real excited about it because there's a lot of activity around this program, especially with our announcement from Apple, which I'm getting a lot of questions on, and I'll touch on in a second. But basically, the Global Entrepreneurial Program is a program where IBM, if you apply and you're accepted, IBM is making an investment in technology in your company by offering you up to 3 years of free software. And this is enterprise-grade software to help you develop your solutions. And also in the program, by being accepted into the program, you also are qualified and are able to move into the Catalyst program. If accepted into that program for software, you will also get an additional $1,000 a month for infrastructure costs that can be applied to servers and other related infrastructure. And then also you're assigned someone like myself. In the Global Entrepreneurial Program, IBM is all about selling solutions to enterprises. And so working with someone from IBM is extremely valuable to be able to get in front of some of your potential clients, which are IBM customers in our customer base. And then finally, I think the most important part of the program is the ability to network within the ecosystem of these key firms that IBM works with, as well as IBM makes investments as well, in particular around Watson, which is our cognitive computing solution. And so what we're really focused on with SaaSMAX is how do we get folks such as yourself successful in the marketplace. And one of the key areas that I've been speaking to SaaSMAX about, and Dina in particular, is the IBM Apple announcement. And what I want to say is that IBM's really focused on creating what iTunes is for the consumer, our marketplace is for the enterprise, with applications written for the iPad and the iPhone and the iOS platform. And with the relationship with Apple, we have the ability with Apple support to really try to develop that out. And if you think about it, what would you do if I could put you in a time capsule and put you right into the beginning when the iPhone was announced, and all the opportunities to write applications in the beginning? And I don't think it's a surprise to anybody that in the technology industry, the way to really make it big is to have what's called the first mover advantage. So I just want to encourage everyone to look at IBM's development platform, Bluemix. If you type in to Google IBM plus Blue, that's BLUEMIX, you'll go to our sign-up page, and that's going to be our development platform for writing applications from the Internet of Things to cognitive computing, you name it, that's IBM's major cloud development platform. I encourage you to look at the GEP program because I think there's some real value there for everybody on the call. I did ask Dina to let me go first today because I do have to jump off, but I just wanted to thank everybody for your time. And if you have any further questions, if you reach out to SaaSMAX, I'd be more than happy to engage each and every one of you on any of your issues. Thank you.
Excellent, Rick. Thanks so much for talking about that from your end. And again, SaaSMAX is somewhat of your concierge in terms of getting through to the Global Entrepreneur Program, to getting through to some of these other application opportunities such as Bluemix and Watson. And it can be very difficult here and there to navigate through the IBM world. And so that's one of the things that we've been working hard to be able to facilitate. So we're very excited about this opportunity, particularly with IBM's perspective on really helping out early stage SaaS entrepreneurs. And you know, when Rick refers to startups, the IBM world of startups is really if you're 5 years or younger. It's not if you're brand new, although it could be. But they define a startup as 5 years or younger. And so it really is emerging growth types of companies as well. It's not just the startups that have these opportunities. So to move along, let's talk a little bit about who SaaSMAX is and why we're in this position with IBM, which is that our goal is to be the bridge that helps B2B cloud applications to cross the chasm. What that means is many of you are doing a great job of getting your early adopter customers, but we're still, as an industry sector, moving ourselves forward to reach enterprise customers, to grow our customer bases and reach Main Street customers, global customers, and enterprise customers. And it's an enormous opportunity that we're just at the beginning of. And our philosophy here at SaaSMAX is that we help SaaS companies and mobile companies to reach the IT channel. And the IT channel is responsible typically for over 75% of hardware, software, and services sold out there. And so by overlooking that, you're missing the boat. You're missing great opportunities. And so SaaSMAX helps you to reach those. We also do so by targeting domain-specific reseller channels and marketplaces. And we also do it through unique partnerships like with IBM, who's going to help us to reach enterprise customers who are in their ecosystem and help us to help the SaaS companies do that at an accelerated pace. This is just an example of some of the SaaS vendors in SaaSMAX today. Right now we have the largest reseller-friendly catalog of B2B SaaS solutions out there. We have thousands of resellers engaging with us, and we're doing proactive matchmaking. And we do have a global presence. Although we haven't done much intentional marketing out there, we're finding that we are getting known. We have SaaS vendors who are joining from as far away as Mauritius and South America and you name it. So anyway, the partnership, which is why we're here, is to talk about what we're doing with IBM. And so in a nutshell, we entered the first IBM Websphere Master ISV Global Application Server License Agreement. And what that means is for you as tech startup companies, early stage companies, is that you can now gain rapid access to IBM products and ecosystems through us. And if you get approved through the IBM programs, which we can help you to do, you can now license and integrate their products, some of their products, and hopefully more of them as we go, at no upfront licensing fee, which can save you 6 figures just by engaging through SaaSMAX. We can also help you navigate through IBM and get things done faster and more at a startup pace as opposed to a traditional enterprise pace. And we can also help you access the benefits of the Global Entrepreneur Program. So now getting a little more into the products that the Websphere SaaS Starter Pack are, these are the ones that we're first offering out there because they're basically non-invasive to your SaaS solutions. They're going to improve your enterprise functionality and going to give you very rapid access to being an IBM partner and customer. And they offer some really substantial very, excellent functionality in order to get started, but not at a high cost of integration and not in any burdensome way to your pure SaaS application wherever you have developed it. So it's comprised of IBM WorkLite, which is a mobile enterprise platform that helps you build, test, and run and manage mobile web apps very effectively. We'll show you more about that. It includes the Cast Iron Hypervisor Edition, which is a SaaS integration product that helps companies integrate their cloud and on-premise applications very quickly, which is a really progressive platform that is getting adopted in a lot of places, and it's a growing piece of the cloud ecosystem these days in most enterprises, the ability to have your app get integrated in with other apps within enterprises. And so being part of that is a real value add. It makes it easier for customers to adopt your SaaS application. Also, it includes the IBM Application Server, the Liberty Profile Edition specifically, which helps. We'll talk about the benefits there, but it really does increase productivity and flexibility. And the MQ Messaging product, which is a robust messaging software that really does some very cool things that Tom will be talking about today, because he'll cover each one individually, but really impressive types of features, again, non-invasively to your app and can integrate very easily. So I'm going to pass the torch now to Tom McManus, who is our technical liaison at IBM, and he's going to touch on some features and positioning and pricing information about each of these products. And just to remind you briefly, when you license with SaaSMAX, these Websphere SaaS Starter Pack features, they all come together as one bundle. You get the code for all of it, and again, it's no upfront fees. So what you'll see in the retail pricing here is showing you the opportunity cost that you have by licensing through SaaSMAX, which is based upon a percentage of your future revenue only when you start earning revenue, as opposed to upfront fees that would normally cost over 6 figures to get engaged. So Tom, welcome, and thank you so much for taking the time to explain to our audience a little more about each of these solutions.
Sure, no, thanks, Dina. Staying on slide number 10 for a minute, the WorkLite piece is the mobile extension. So if you already have a service solution, maybe an IPA-based, WorkLite allows you to expose those APIs into mobile applications. And as much as we have this agreement with Apple, we also need to support the other platforms across the board. Android, RIM, even though they're going back and forth to Android, it's still there. And with Mr. Nadella, Microsoft may be coming back, you never know. So we want to make sure that we have a broad development base so that you're not losing customers along the way. So WorkLite handles the mobile aspect of the cloud, social, mobile trilogy there. When you get into Cast Iron, and really that is the cloud integration piece. So as a SaaS vendor, you know that you may need to connect into an enterprise, and they're on-premise, so you need to be able to connect back and forth to it. You can build templates, which I'll get into. But you can also use that as maybe a migration avenue or channel to map existing software that someone's already using in-house and want to pull that into your SaaS application. The application server itself is generally a Java EE application server, something that serves up web pages, handles RESTful web services, messaging, and that's where your business logic is going to sit for the most part. When you talk about MQ, it's world-class messaging. It is robust. It's generally considered the fastest in the world. It is fantastic, and it's all bundled together for whatever you want to use. When we slide down to chart number 11, we're going to get into WorkLite, kind of what it is. And again, Dina said it right. It's a great mobile application platform. Where we want to focus is where you guys get your productivity, right, which is development. Now, you may be planning on doing all native apps. WorkLite has that capability. And a couple of charts, I'm going to actually get to the different pieces. But within that, it handles both hybrid, web, and native application building. And the nice part about the WorkLite Studio is from the beginning, It's free. You can download that from the Eclipse Workplace. So that's one particular piece that's great with it. There are extensions of Worklight that allow you to do different components on usability and user engagement. And that is a value add of Worklight that does not come within PhoneGap. So PhoneGap is generally our competitor when you see in the marketplace. Someone say, oh, I don't need all of that. I'm using PhoneGap. Well, you're using PhoneGap, but you're really putting that into the device. And you're still connecting back and forth through an HTTP or a REST service, and there's no way for you to do application management. There's no way for you to push out new versions. There's no way for you to secure those except for something within your DMZ back to the service ends. So then when we get into this whole piece, that's part of the service, the security and the trust concept, right? You have app authenticity, there is app binding, there's ways that you can actually be in an offline mode, store the pieces of information into a secure on-device storage. And then when you come back online, Worklight will sync it with your back end. So there's no outages in your application. When we talk about user engagement, this is where the jars come in, where you can actually instrument your code. This is where you have geolocation, GPS, that is lightweight on your battery usage, which is the key to any mobile application. And I know when I have one that really consumes a lot of battery, I generally get rid of it. And if I get frustrated with an app, I generally get rid of the app and I just leave it. So with the user engagement, you really want to track that. You can do that through the Worklight piece. And you can also collect some mobile analytics, which is something right now that is left to the app stores. And a lot of that stuff is hidden from you, and you can't get the true mobile analytics. Worklight helps you gather all of that information. So on slide 12, we're going to go over the components. Now, as I said, Worklight itself has a studio, and this is an IDE. It's Eclipse-based. It uses PhoneGap, but it itself is free for you to use. So even if you're developing mobile applications and you don't use any of the Worklight features outside of it, it is a fantastic tool to use that is really at no cost to you. If you decide you want to use some of the Worklight runtime components, the client APIs, the extensive libraries that give you the battery life with the GPS, etc., that's when the licensing of Worklight comes in. With Worklight Server, it gives you unified notifications, the ability to write your code once and allow the runtime itself to skin the actual device. So if you're on an iPad, it's the Worklight runtime that actually makes those changes for you. And you've done all that testing before in the studio. There is a Worklight console that allows you to control app versions, push out new versions, and you can see metrics and monitoring of what's happening within the different services that you connect to. Now, there's a Worklight Application Center that generally goes more towards the enterprises where they have multiple internal applications in which they're working, and they're working it with different test groups to development, and I'm going to house my applications over here in this app center so that we can check out and keep everything together. And that comes with the Worklight platform itself. So there's no additional licensing charges on that. And for you guys, if you're part of the SaaS Starter Pack, it's all included in this. So on slide 13.
And Tom, I think one of the things that you mentioned that struck a chord with me is that for those of you who use mobile apps, which is just about all of us these days, that when there are apps that have to send an upgrade to their customers, you probably know the ones that force you to then re-download the app. And with Worklight, that's done on the fly so that it's seamless and the user doesn't even have to know. Is that correct?
That's accurate on 95% of changes. If for some reason you're making a native API call Apple and Google still demands that you go through their store. If it is something in the hybrid world or something that's workload oriented, it isn't, say, you're interacting with Siri on an iDevice, or you're interacting with a camera, or something internal to the actual device, then you would be able to push out any new update that you made to your application to the mobile device. Now, it also has the ability to say, just send the notification, and then also has the ability to say, hey, you got to download it. So sometimes it's seamless, and sometimes you got to download it. So that it gives you the ability to control that.
Got it.
So on slide 13, I kind of touched on these already. I just want to let you drill down. There's 3 things that are new in 6, and there are really the 3 highlights that I'd like to point out. One is the embedded functional testing, and over on the right, you can see a picture of kind of how that looks. So within the Worklight Studio, you have the ability to develop an application and allow you to do transparent overlays and allow you to say, okay, this is a BlackBerry, how does it look? This is an iPad, this is how it looks. This is a Mini, this is how it looks. Oh, how does it work on an HTC? So you have the ability to see the look and feel to make sure that it's all the same and things don't get skewed. And it tests out the runtime skinning and everything else. It's really, first of a kind within the mobile development world. Again, most of that stuff it's free with the studio, so I highly recommend using it. Now, a year or so ago, we had purchased a company called TeaLeaf, which is very much into user experience, basically analytic collecting, and allows you to instrument your application code. And with TeaLeaf, it's with web applications as well as mobile. We've taken a lot of the mobile instrumentation and put it into the runtime components that you're allowed to build into your app with Worklight. And this is what allows you to analyze application usage, the responsiveness. It allows you to focus your development dollars on what customers are really using. And you can see what customers are really struggling with. So that's the stuff you fix. So you don't start losing customers or having them unhappy, which we all know it's harder to get customers than it is to keep them. So we want to work on keeping the customer experience very good and collecting the information that goes along with it. And the last, I've talked about the geolocation toolkit, but the ones that come on the phone are fine, but they do consume a lot of energy. And the one downfall of every mobile device is if you don't have a cord, you're kind of in trouble if you're using a lot of geolocation. If you use WAS for traffic navigation, I was just going to Hershey Park in Pennsylvania, and my battery went dead. So I almost made it there. Luckily, there were signs. But with the Worklight geolocation toolkit, it's about 3 times cheaper on battery use. So it uses 3 times less battery juice than it does with the one in the phone. So it is very, very good for your mobile applications to be able to use it. So to me, those are 3 highlights to all the mobile piece in something that you're going to find a lot of value in, and then how to manage it on the back end, and the simplicity of connecting your existing applications through the Worklight platform is JavaScript. It's fairly simple. So,
right, and I should just say also, it doesn't matter where you're hosting your application, you can still use Worklight.
Absolutely. So
great, okay.
On slide 14, we talk about the ROI. And Dina, do you have a question or?
No, I think we just overlapped.
Okay. On the next slide, we talk about the ROI of Worklight, and Forrester deemed that your 5-year risk-adjusted ROI is 363%. And these are the reasons you can read that through and through. But it's places where people trip up is there's no mobile middleware services layer. They're lacking a complete ID functionality. We're picking and choosing, and we really don't know where our customers are struggling. Okay, so the next slide is going to talk about pricing. Now, Worklight, this is the regular pricing, or I'll call it retail. This is slide 15. There's two different ways of going about it if you're going to buy this for on-prem or on-premises. There is by the app or by the device. So there is one called the Consumer Edition, which, and the license around that, it's the same software. It's per mobile application. It's about $178,000. It goes to unlimited devices and unlimited number of servers, but it's for one application. When you get into the enterprise version, which is more for your IBMs, your GEs, where you have $40,800, and this is a retail price, for each instance of Worklight installed on a server, plus you're paying per device. So this is generally more for the internal enterprise user who they know how many devices they're getting to, or maybe it would, that it may be something for a SaaS vendor if they're going out and specifically targeting a customer and have a way to shrink and know how many devices are being connected, but you can also have unlimited applications. So that's really the way the regular pricing works, or the retail pricing works for Worklight. So the next slide down is 16. I'm going to get into cast iron, which I already talked about as a cloud integration layer. So really where this comes in, it's almost like an ESB in the cloud or an enterprise service bus in the cloud, but it's fast service, or fast and simple, and it's based on templates and allows you to say you want to go from SAP to your application. Or maybe you have, as I said earlier, you want to migrate from an existing piece of software that you have on your customer's premise, and you want to pull that data in. Well, you can build your own templates to be able to map the business objects and the data, to map that to your representation of data to be stored within your repositories in your SaaS application. Right, so they talk about the swivel chair where people are going back and forth between multiple applications. Cast iron is the way that you pull those together so you can have it on one pane of glass and there's no moving back and forth between the two. The simplicity of these templates is the majority of the configuration and not really coding. The big competitor we find against cast iron, and there are a few, Progress has a piece out there, is really custom code. And how do I do this? How do I build a REST API that comes in? I run different technologies to map the pieces over, and then I have to maintain all of this, and then I have to secure it. And all those things come at a cost that, it's, if you have really good coders, it's simple to get things moving. But then when you start to get into your customers asking you, well, does it support this protocol for security, and can I handle SAML, and can I handle all these other security constraints? I don't know. It's more feature requests you need to put onto your own custom build. So the cast iron piece covers all of that. And again, it's in a hypervisor version. You start it up, you spin it up, you start it, you go to the UI. There's an IDE that you can develop templates on. You upload them, you map your objects together, and you go. So it is very simple. Sometimes you do custom code. You'll say it's going to take 3 weeks or a month, 2 months. So this is 5-10 days max for very complicated ones. So it's a very, very nice integration layer for SaaS to on-premise, even SaaS to SaaS. In the next slide, we talk about some of the different features that are here. You have complete usability. This is a tip exchange. The tip is the templates. So there's a tip exchange. So if you're integrating with an SAP, or Oracle, JD Edwards, those are already there. It comes with a development kit. So if you want to build your own, and you can actually put that into the tip exchange. Right? That's one way to connect back into it. It's hard to see on the screen, but these are some of the tips that are already in there for total connectivity. Cast iron itself comes in 3 flavors. One is a cloud version already. Another one is a physical device, and then there's the virtual appliance or the hypervisor version. So what do we use these for? We can do these for UI mashups. We can put in process integration if you have that. Data migration, like we talked about, moving it from a different vendor to yours. It's a great way to do that. So on the next slide, which would be 18, these are, I think I've iterated through a lot of these, but one of the things that you can do because of its security is allow one way to expose your APIs with security in front of them, and allow other customers to be able to integrate with those and use their own, they can use tips with those, and you can get those working together quickly. You have a rapid API proxying and assembly. This may be a little technical for the audience, but there's a really good way to get out into the API economy with the cast iron. So if you're working on a web app, you're thinking about moving mobile, that's one thing. If you're thinking about, for example, Pitney Bowes, who's now on Bluemix, they've exposed some of their metering pieces, their address validation. That's all out on Bluemix, and all that is an API. It's a RESTful web service that is hosted someplace, potentially on software, maybe on AWS. But it's out there that the folks in Bluemix can do, but it's also open to the rest of the world. And they're using a cast iron and data power in there to protect all of their assets so they're not getting hacked as they're exposing their APIs to the world. So this is things that you can do through the SaaS Starter Pack with cast iron. The next slide, I think I'm going to go over quickly, is 19. This is kind of it gives you an idea, and I think we talked through these already. With the one circle on the bottom talks about an application in production, and I want to go out to the cloud and then connect to some other applications. So we've talked about this already with the migration, the data migration example, or SAP or the other, but this is just a kind of a graphic representation of it that you can use to put your head in. So you have that firewall in between, so the DMZ, so the enterprise is protected, maybe your customer's enterprise is protected, and you're also out there in the cloud, but in the same respect, you're going to protect yourself with cast iron. On the next slide, we're going to go into pricing. So on 20 is the retail pricing. Now with cast iron itself, it's not like an installation. They actually price this off of an endpoint. And an endpoint is a connection to another system. Say it's a Salesforce, or maybe it's a database, or SAP. So when you when you install the software and you get 2 endpoints, the price point on that, the retail price point, is $84,500. If you want to add additional, it's $33,800. And then when we get into an unlimited version, you cap out at $137,000 for each installation of that with unlimited endpoints. So all of these pieces come with subscription and support. So you will have a support background to ask for help. And I know Dina's got some other services in there that she can help with. So that's the retail pricing around cast iron. On the next slide, we're going to talk about.
And just to remind, for those of you who are joining late in the webinar, this is one example of the strong value that by licensing the SaaS Starter Pack through SaaSMAX, you're immediately alleviating any upfront costs on these types of things, because the costs now go away, and it's only based upon a small percentage of your revenue once you start earning revenue based upon the products, these products being incorporated in your app. So it's, when you just add up cast iron and WorkLight alone, you can see that the benefits up front to you by getting you into enterprise areas and putting your mobile delivery and mobile functionality for both of those really provide a tremendous amount of value and credibility and security and enterprise readiness that your competitors are not going to have, and no upfront cost. It's really pretty amazing.
Very well said, Dina. Thank you.
Go ahead.
So the next two have been around for a while, and I cut my teeth with Websphere at the turn of the century. So this has been around. It's a rock-solid platform. And most of the S&P 500 have at least a little bit of Websphere in their shops. It's, again, rock solid code, but it was getting big and bloated. So what they did, the development team, is they actually made a smaller OSGI version, which is really small bundles and lighter weight version of the exact same code. They took that code, they rebundled it into a very simple, lightweight Websphere edition. One of the targets was open source. So we taught your development guys maybe used to Tomcat or JBoss. This, and I can bring charts on some of our compares on throughput and startups, where we actually do much better than they do in certain scenarios. But we really use a lot of open source within the application server, but it's fully supported straight across the board. So if you need a web service in the Tomcat, you're going to go get some open source set of libraries and build that into it. Well, Websphere itself has taken the most popular version out there. They've put some performance improvements into it, and they're also supporting it if anything happens. So the one thing you get is you don't have to go to a forum for support for your application, or you don't have to fix it yourself when you come with a Liberty profile for Websphere application server. There's the ability to build your own features, which is probably a little deep for this conversation. Instead of having a big installer, we all know how to use WinZip. It's unzip and go. It's really simple to use. When we talk about benefits, it's rapid development, free downloads, and if you do decide that you need to go to the big app server, there's full fidelity. Okay, on the next slide is all the different pieces that we've talked about. It's developer first, focused. So it's fast, it's lightweight. You can go, we have a zero to hero video that's 3 minutes and 30 seconds where someone downloaded it, installed it, built a server, ran a servlet, and got it going. So 3.5 minutes is pretty fast and pretty simple. However, you can get all the way up to cluster management if you need to. It's web certified if that's of interest. It's well tooled. There's Websphere developer tools that come for free with it. So you're in good shape. It's a dynamic server profile, so you never have to stop it unless you desire to. So really huge productivity increase for your development staff. As we compare this on slide 23 to all the different app servers are out there, this is where the light blue is where Liberty fits. Sorry, there's a few different pieces in here. Okay, so they're all in there. They're all rendering. So the one that I cut my teeth on was WAS full profile. That covers the enterprise straight across up the COBOL integration, batch. You can run huge cloud formations. The whole goal of that was to remake the mainframe in Java. So it's big, but it's amazingly secure and performant. They've taken that same code and they've targeted I'm not going to say the lower end, but it's not as feature function rich. That's the Liberty profile at this given moment. But each quarter, we're coming out with new beta modules and new features, and it's getting closer and closer to full profile. But you can see where it compares. So if you're a Tomcat shop and you want to see where it fits with Liberty, well, Liberty has a lot more features with it. We have scaling tests right now. They're going up to 6,000 servers straight across. So it scales amazingly administratively. There's very little downtime with it. Again, it's fast. So this is kind of where we position ourselves within it. On the next slide, on 24, is our retail pricing. Now, IBM has a kind of a crazy PVU idea. It came out when there was only a single core on a machine. So you had one socket, and that's what it was. But your basic Intel machine, Xeon processor, mid-level is about 100 PVUs. So the per PVU cost is on the right, but essentially based on a one CPU core, and I think AWS is a 120 if you're out on AWS for a virtual core. You can do the multiplication, but on 100 PBU, you're looking at the core edition is $2,600 per core. That's the EE web profile. If you're looking at something where you need some messaging and web services, that'd be $5,200 a core. And if you need the big one, that's $19,000 a core. All right. So I have a link down here to the PBU modeling, price modeling. So this, you may have multiple machines. Go ahead, Christina.
Yeah, I was just going to emphasize that each of these pieces of the SaaS Starter Pack are standalone. So whether you decide to use all of them or one of them is up to you. It's not required that they all be used together. So that's, again, one of the values. You may decide you want Liberty later in the game. You don't need to integrate it today, but you'll have it, again, at the same overall pricing strategy versus something like this.
So the next and last component of this starter pack that you can use or you don't have to is the messaging component. And again, MQ messaging has been around for 20 some odd years. It's rock solid code. It's fast. It's really the messaging backbone for many, many enterprises. All right. We've also been working with car companies, four-letter car companies, that are using the MQ technology for their car interaction and their Internet of Things. So they're capturing data from the cars. They're then taking it, getting some analytics from it, and all this is done by MQTT based on MQ. Facebook in their messenger uses an MQTT variant. MQ supports MQTT, so it's very good for mobile messaging. So if you are having an application that does messaging and you want some lightweight messaging that goes back and forth, maybe you're the new next WhatsApp. MQ is right there, and you can use MQTT to go back and forth to your devices or your things that you're connecting to. So that's pretty much all there within MQ. On the next slide, this is essentially the same thing, said in a different way. We've got open standards that we support. It's scalable, it's robust, and it's flexible. These are all the different deployments, quality of service, endpoints that are supported, and the skills that you may need or you may need to connect to. So it's really another good bus combination, that you may need to get rid of the people who are scared of SaaS apps and they want to have a backup on the premise. So maybe we can do all the things and then put everything back on a queue and send it back over to the customer on the back end and let them store it for themselves. On the next slide, we talk about messaging. We're 20 years in the investment bit. This is MQ. It's 20 years old. You want to extend the value you're getting from the IT systems. All right. This is a way for you to not lose messages. You don't have to worry about it. It's been running around for 20 years. You can persist messages. It's reliable messaging. They're durable. You don't have to worry about it. It doesn't disappear. You have analyst reports. It talks about MQ saving 2 to 4 times the cost of homegrown approaches or open source approaches. So when it gets down to it, it's going to save you money and it's going to increase on some productivity here. It supports FTP and the HTTP transport. So if one of your pieces that you're getting files in from customers to feed, or maybe that's how you're actually populating your data back end, and MQ can support that. On the next slide, we're going to talk about pricing. Again, we're basing it on a 100 PBU core, one core. It's $82.50 per PBU. Do the multiplication, it's $82.50, and that's the retail pricing. And if you're looking down below and you want to look at that hyperlink, that'll take you to our pricing model that's on the web. Active MQ is pretty much it. So I'm going to pass myself back to Dina so she can give you more pricing information and move us forward.
Excellent. And I actually have a question for you that came through that says, we have an application that uses a MySQL database. Does cast iron provide us with the opportunity to convert potential customers from their old database or Excel spreadsheets to our database, and how would that be done? Now, that might be a little bit technical for this webinar, but I'm sure that if you have a brief answer to that, please go ahead.
I need to check. I'm not sure if it handles Excel spreadsheets, but it definitely would allow you to store into MySQL. I will need to do a quick search while Dina is wrapping us up, and I'll see if I have an answer by the time she's done.
Fantastic. All right, great. Well, Tom, that was a really great introduction. I think it gave enough information to help people understand what these products are and the values of them, as well as the substantial price advantage that you gain from just licensing through SaaSMAX, saving all of those upfront fees, and therefore making it much more, reduces the barriers to entry in a substantial way. So thank you so much for explaining those. And again, this is sort of the summary example here of the starter pack pricing and what you get with SaaSMAX. So you get all 4 components of the SaaS starter pack. You get them in a very startup-friendly, simple, affordable way. You don't have to pay anything on those until you're producing revenue with those apps that you're selling, and you don't have to pay anything except for on those specific software apps that include the SaaS starter pack components. So if you have other products in your business, it's only based upon the sales of that product. And it's a simple contract. We just one royalty rate for the entire pack, and a contract is typically 1 to 3 years, and it's based upon a percentage of your revenue. And our concierge services, which is that we can help you identify an integrator who's experienced with the SaaS starter pack components, and also to navigate the IBM ecosystem, which you get you in the door with the Global Exchange, the Global Entrepreneur Program, as well as other portions as well. So we know how difficult that can be, especially for SaaS vendors who are used to being extremely quick and agile, and navigating through an enterprise can sometimes be frustrating. We help you get through and cut through to get what you need faster. So as far as activating in next steps, it would basically be reaching out to me directly or reaching out to our team at IBM at SaaSMAX.com, and we'll guide you through completing the application for the Global Entrepreneur Program, and as well as the IBM Websphere application. Both of them have to approve you, but both of their criteria are very similar. You have to be 5 years or younger. You can't already be incorporating other IBM products or software, or be an IBM partner already. That would stop you from being able to be accepted into this. And also we can discuss other platforms that IBM has that you may be interested in, and we can get you introductions to those, and see what we can arrange in terms of access to Watson, to Bluemix, and to other exciting platforms they have. And so that's it. We want to just thank you again for being here. And this has been a great introductory webinar. We are recording this, as you see, and we will make it available online as well as by email. If you want to see it offline, we'd be happy to share it with you. And so that's it. So thank you so much. And it looks like, Tom, that I think you did have an answer, or it looks like the Excel. Tom, if you want to explain the answer to that question, that would be great.
So to the person who asked about Excel to mapping it over the database, I just pinged one of our expert guys who's been working with cast iron for a long time, and said yes, it's a very common use case, either CSV or flat file. Excel, we can take that apart and allow you to do a tip and map that right over to a database, whether it's MySQL or DB2 or whichever.
Excellent, excellent. Well, good. Thank you for finding that out as quickly as you did as well. So I guess thank you all for being on this call and taking the time to learn about this. And Tom, thank you so much. And Rick isn't here, but he was here at the beginning and did a great job explaining the Global Entrepreneur Program. And we look forward to sharing more information like this with our SaaSMAX ecosystem. And as you hear about other SaaS platforms that may be able to benefit from this and are seeking enterprise ready apps, as well as looking to get customers in the world of IBM sweet spots, please have them reach out to us and let us help you accelerate your path to market through them. So thanks again, everyone. Have a great afternoon. Tom, thanks so much for your explanations, and we'll see you all soon. Thanks a lot.